Morning, it's good to have you all back again. Now, I hope you've got your beverage of choice. Now, I have a coffee, obviously. It would appear not all of you enjoy a coffee during this. Some of you like something a little bit stronger. I don't know why, but lucky you. Enjoy it, whatever you're having at the moment. Today, I want to talk a little bit about some of the feedback I get on YouTube and some of the comments. Now, the vast majority of them are very positive. But there's obviously always going to be skeptics. There's always skeptics about electric vehicles, and there's always those negative comments about, well, people just writing them off without even test driving them or trying them in any way, shape or form. Now, one of those comments I get quite a lot is around recharging or filling up a car with petrol or diesel. And they're generally quite short and to the point and say, I would rather just go to a petrol station and stick petrol or diesel in. It's much quicker and much easier. Well, I want to examine that today. So whatever your drink of choice is, make sure you're sitting comfortably, and let's talk about recharge stroke filling times. Now, in order to make this video, I obviously had to do a little bit of research. For those of you who don't know, I have obviously my Nissan Leaf. It's a 24 kilowatt hour one. And I've also got a petrol Mazda 6. I've had it for years. It's our old workhorse. And yeah, I use it when I can't get my hands on the electric car, when my wife's using it. So in the interest of research and making sure this was done correctly, I took the petrol car to the filling station and filled it up with petrol. Now, the car itself, it will do about 400 miles to a tank of petrol. And as you'll see, it cost me just over £70 normally to fill it up. That's pretty average, and it has been for a long time. So let's just, well, let's go to the video I made and let's see just how long it takes for me to fill up this car with petrol. Now, as you can see, the time that I'm going to put on the screen, it doesn't incorporate the time it takes to drive out of my way to the petrol station, driving onto the forecourt, queuing. It doesn't take into account the time it takes to then go into the shop and pay. I do everything at the pump here. And then driving back out of the petrol station and back onto my route. So it doesn't take account of any of that. I've kept it exactly the same as I will show you for the recharging the car. It's a case of as soon as I open the door to get out the car to the point I shut the door to get back in the car or walk away from the vehicle with the electric charging, that's when the timer will start and stop. So let's have a look. There's no point in sitting here for ages watching it. We'll fast forward it a little bit, but you can see the time it's taking for me to fill this car up. And at the end, you'll see I go back to the machine to get my receipt and then get back in the car. So as you can see, that's taken me 3 minutes, just over 3 minutes to get out the car, fill it up, get my receipt, get back in the car. Let's now go and have a look at how long it will take me to charge or plug in my electric car. Now, with this one, we don't need to fast forward it. You'll see from the point that I turn the car off, open the flap, get out, and plug the car in, it's taken me 22 seconds, and I'm practically inside my house at that point. So for the interest of fairness and the interest of working these figures out easily, let's say that it took me 3 minutes to fill the car up with petrol, and it took me 20 seconds to get out, plug in and leave my electric vehicle. So let's work out then what that means in real world times of how long it's going to take me to do each of those things over a number of refills and a number of miles. Now, in order to round that up, so if I took 20 seconds and put it into 3 minutes, that would be 15 times I would have to plug my car in and charge it to get me up to 3 minutes. My car gets me about 70 miles per charge. It will do more, it will do less, but pretty much regularly I do get 70 miles per charge out of it. No problems at all, no matter what time of year. If I plug it in 15 times, that will get me 1,050 miles in comparison to the 400 miles from the petrol car. So you can see already I'm saving a lot of time by plugging it in. So let's now boost those figures up. Let's look at a year's worth of driving. Now, we often hear various figures for how many miles people drive in an average year. I think certainly in the UK it's lower than it is in the US, but let's call it 12,000 miles because I see that figure bounded around a lot, and it just gives us a good figure, I think probably in between what we do in the UK and what people do in the USA. It just gives us an in-between figure. So bear with me with that. So we're going to say in an average year, we do 12,000 miles. If I was to divide that by 400 miles, the amount or the distance I go per tank of petrol in my car, I would have to fill my car up 30 times. If I was to divide that by the 70 miles for my electric car, I would have to plug it in 171 times. So an awful lot more, but let's look at time-wise, and can I save any of my life not having to stand around plugging in or filling up with petrol? Well, 30 fill-ups based on 3 minutes a time would take me an hour and a half of my life. 171 charges based on 20 seconds a time would take me 34 minutes. So I've saved myself an hour every year not standing at a pump. And like I say, that doesn't even take into account the extra driving I have to do to get out my way to get to the petrol station, if I need to go into the shop to pay, if I then need to drive off and get back on my route. So forget all that. This is just purely refill time. So you can see that's a massive saving in time just on 12,000 miles a year. But my car, of course, it's quite old now. It's 24 kilowatt hour. It only does 70 miles. Perfectly adequate for me and probably perfectly adequate for the vast majority of people, especially if you drive 12,000 miles a year or less. But it's not the norm anymore. The new cars are coming along and they're giving us an awful lot more range. And we're seeing now 200 miles range kind of being the base standard. And that's what we expect going forward. You look at vehicles that have got 60 plus kilowatt hour batteries. They're quite capable of doing 200 miles. So let's look at that. So an EV that's capable of doing 200 miles. Well, if we were to go back to our original figure of 15 charges, so 20 seconds, if you times that by 15, takes up to 3 minutes, the same as filling the petrol car. In a 200 mile EV, that would give us 3,000 miles. And now let's take that figure and look at it with our 12,000 mile a year average driving range. Well, 12,000 miles a year, divided that by 200, so for each charge, gives us a figure of 60 charges. Now, 60 charges at 20 seconds each is 12 minutes of your life plugging it in. I mean, that's nothing, is it? How quick and simple is that? And honestly, that from an hour and a half, you would rather stand at a petrol pump for that amount of time of your life. I've got much better things to be doing my time, I have to be honest. But you're probably screaming at the screen right now, yeah, that's all well and good. You're charging at home. You're very lucky. You've got a driveway. You've got a plug outside your house. And you're not even talking about charging in public where it takes an awful lot longer and you have to go out of your way to do it. You're absolutely right. But for me and the vast majority of those people that do 12,000 miles a year, it is so rare that you're ever going to have to do that if you've got a 200 mile EV. It's almost not worth talking about, but I'm going to anyway, because of course, if you do 12,000 miles a year, the chances are that perhaps you're one of these people that just does a small amount of mileage most days of the week, and then once a week you go on a big long trip. Now here in the UK, it's very different again to other countries. For me, the furthest I've travelled probably in the last 4 years is about 230 miles in one hit. That's from the south coast where I live up to Manchester. So you can see I'm travelling right through the heart of the country, and it's a decent drive. It takes about 4 hours. In my electric car, my Leaf, that's 3, maybe 4 stops on the way. So of course, at 30 minutes a time, that starts really adding up. And I've got to be honest, it's no fun, and it can be done, of course it can, but would I want to do it regularly? Absolutely not. But let's look at this 200 miles, because of course that makes an awful lot of difference. I could do that on one stop. I always stop when I do that trip to Manchester. I've normally got the kids with me, and we nearly always stop to grab a coffee, go to the toilet, and in 30 minutes, less than 30 minutes, I will have more than enough charge to then carry on and reach my destination. That 230 miles is really, really easy to do. So is it taking me any longer? No, not really. But you have to make that decision for yourself. If you're regularly doing 300-400 miles a day, then perhaps you need to factor in a little bit more of the time and justify, is that worthwhile to you? The savings you'll make We haven't even spoken about the cost savings. Bear in mind that that 400 miles cost me just over £70. If I work that out with my Leaf, it would cost me just over £10. So it's a huge difference. But this video isn't about me preaching to you, telling you you're going to waste your life if you don't change to an EV. There's so many other factors. It's just another piece of the puzzle, and it's just some more information for you to be aware of so that you can think, well, is it right for me? Either way, let's have a chat about it. Do you think my figures are about right? Is that your findings? Is there something I've missed? Or is it worth just queuing up, paying for your petrol, just because you know that wherever you go, there is going to be a petrol pump and it's going to be free to use, and you're willing to pay that massive premium for that convenience? So there you go. That's my thoughts on the matter, and I know, personally speaking, what works for me best. If you've enjoyed today's video, remember to like and share. If you're not doing so already, subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like to support the channel, have a look at the Patreon link at the end, because that really does help me to get out and about and meet some fantastic people that you'll see in some of the videos we've been doing and some that we've got planned for the future. But until next time, enjoy the rest of your coffee. You take care, and I'll see you soon. All the best.